like this. Okay. Okay, what's up everyone? Another quick video for this preseason game and what's going on with Eagles and training camp over the last couple of weeks. I guess I'm gonna start with Stowers. So the whole Stowers situation is a bit concerning, mostly because he hasn't made any highlight plays. When you draft a wide receiver like Stowers, what you really want to hear from like the media guys is that something about his game, how he moves, like his body type, some of the catches, but like you want to like hear of some highlight plays so you see like the flashes as to why the Eagles drafted Eli Stowers, and we haven't got that so far in training camp, so that is a bit, I guess, concerning. My view overall is I wasn't a big fan of the pick. Personally, I had a fourth round grade on Eli Stowers, not because of like just because of how I personally value the tight end position. I don't think tight end is that important, and I think the criteria or like the bar for someone to be a solid, capable tight end, I think it's more important to have a good offensive line, a good wide receivers, a good quarterback, and then have a tight end that can fit within the flow of an offense and then can get those easy wide open plays. I think a guy like Tucker Craft is a bit overrated in how people view him, because if you sort of look at Green Bay's offense, they're not asking him to win a bunch of one-on-ones, but what he does really well is he blocks and he can plays within the flow of the scheme, and then he has above average athletic measurables. So then when he does, he is able, to run a good seam. He can get out in the flats, catch a ball, make a guy miss, and get upfield and generate explosives. And to me, I just think you could have got that guy in Delp. You could have got that guy in Max Clare. There were guys later on in the draft who were already solid, if not good, blockers coming in. So from a functional basis, year one they would have been able to be the tight end too, right? Because they could block, and then they have athletic traits where, again, are they gonna route guys up and win one on ones? No, but again, you have Dallas Goedert, you have Devontae Smith, you have all these other guys, and you're in a run heavy offense. If you get a tight end too, who is a good blocker from day one, and again, like this is what Dallas Goedert was when they drafted him, a good blocker from day one, and then within the flow of the offense and throughout the season, the tight end too, if they're on the field and they can block, they're gonna get wide open because people aren't thinking about them. So you give them a chance to, run routes, easier routes, get the ball in their hand and more wide open space, and then they can get downfield. I mean, we're gonna see this a bunch with Johnny Munt this season. Johnny Munt is gonna get the ball because no one fucking cares about him, and he's not gonna do anything with it in terms of yards after catch because he doesn't like meet that athletic baseline I was referring to. So again, I think the Eli Stowers pick, and this is like, I guess, can go into a larger conversation overall of how like I feel about the last four first and second round picks, where again, my personal preference, I know people are gonna say take the best player available or need, and yeah, but then just like from my GMing perspective, I think like, and from what I like infer how he did by picking Jahad Campbell and Makuba, like low value positions, I view it as, and he also said that you're making like a star bet on these guys because these aren't high value positions. So you take Jahad Campbell because he has these elite athletic traits that makes him, just a field tilting, numbers changing type of guy in the middle of a defense comparable to a Fred Warner. Now I like feel a bit weird about the Jahad Campbell pick because Carson Schwarzenegger is so fucking good, but it's like I understand the vision there. Andrew Makuba, um, safety typically low value position, but Andrew Makuba has the slot versatility matched with the playmaking and turnover creating ability where you go, well, that is valued as a second round pick. Jahad Campbell, again, numbers changing, middle of the defense, can run with safeties down the sidelines, like such a rare talent, arguably already a top 8 linebacker, even if the run defense stuff isn't quite there yet. Um, it's worth that pick at that time. A Makai Lemon, again, slot receiver, dirty work guy, gonna, find the holes in zones, win the one-on-one against slot cornerbacks, inside slant type of dude, tough over the middle, right? In terms of traditional value, maybe not worth the pick, but due to the high floor, the need for receiver. For me, Stowers, the issue comes in where when I look at all of those guys, the gap between him being functional is so much bigger than those other guys, as well as Stowers being a low value position. Again, is why I again had him rated as a fourth round pick because I view like a that type of guy isn't gonna help me right away, so I have to get value from him in a utility type of way, the same way the Browns used Harold Fannin last year, right? Like they use Harold Fannin as like a wing T heavy slot type of tight end where they weren't really asking him to block, they were just getting him the space to give him the ball. Whereas I think the Eagles aren't going to do that for Stowers, because we've seen with this coaching staff the lack of creativity. Again, Sean Mannion's here now, so maybe that's a little different. But I really think, like, from the Eagles' perspective, they, like, we saw again. I'm blaming Sean Mannion for Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni thing, but they're really like, we're gonna ask Grant Calcaterra to block, right? So like they don't do it. They haven't done a good job of like scheming guys open and putting them in a position where it's like you can only do this one thing, so we're gonna have you do this one thing in this situation. They're like they ask their players to be functional from day one, right? So it's kind of like from a basketball perspective, if you can't play defense, you can't like get on the field or whatever. But like again, that's my issue with Stowers is he's not going to play because he can't block and he hasn't like shown a ton of like elite flashes as a wide receiver. And for me it's just like if you're not truly like elite at beating guys one on one, and from his film he was more like he didn't have that wiggle. Like I thought again a Max Clare had that. Again, when you look at some of these newer tight ends, they have a little bit of sauce to them. Sowers, if you watch this film, he was more like a train. Like Sowers moves more like a Savion Williams, a Cordell Patterson type guy. Like it's this very like inline, straight speed, but he doesn't have that, like I'm gonna cross you up, that hip flexibility where I think he has like really good like body control in the air. Like again, like a guy like Max Clare, Travis Kelsey, Brock Bowers, like they have this like in a weird way, Eli Stowers. Now I'm yapping, and I'm just move on to the next subject. But in a weird way, Eli Stowers is more so built like a Colston Loveland, Gronkowski. He got a lot of like Jimmy Graham comps coming out. But the difference between him and those guys is like all of those guys are 6'5" plus. Eli Sowers is 6'3". So again, how does ultimately does this look? Again, is he ultimately Drake London? Like he's a heavy slot. A lot of scouts coming out thought he was just a wide receiver. Again, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna take him some time. Um, again, I would have went with Claire Delp, but like he's on the Eagles. I think at this point it would be best. Hopefully, like let's see what he does tonight in the preseason game. But like, hopefully Sean Mannion's the type of coordinator that is like, okay, let's use Stowers this way, just to get him on the field, just to get the ball in his hands in certain ways. But at the end of the day, he has to learn to block, and that's the biggest deal, because he isn't. Again, it's like basketball. You can't suck on defense and be mid at offense. So in order for Eli Sowers to justify not being a good blocker, he has to be elite at beating guys one on one, right? As a receiver. And it doesn't sound like he's that from camp, right? So hopefully he puts on weight, he becomes a better blocker, he becomes more functional, and we can see where this goes. To the Lemon pick. Okay, so Lemon, I think we can combine Lemon and Cooper into one conversation. I'm pretty high on Lemon, you know, because I think what Lemon does and who he is and why you drafted him, it's such a high floor. The issue with Lemon ultimately to me is he ever going to be worth that pick, right? Because I think the type of receiver Lemon is you hope for the Amon Ra St. Brown outcomes, but when you look at like the Makai Lemon comparisons or the players I would compare him to, I would compare him to Puka Nakua, Amon Ra St. Brown, Parker Washington, maybe some. Again, I don't think the Jackson Smith Ajigba or Abuka comparisons are that close because I think those guys played outside like a lot more in college, like a lot more in college. But I think the Amara St. Brown, the Puka Nakua comparisons in terms of what you're gonna ask him to do and how he's gonna fit into your offense is more in line of what he is, and those guys were drafted later. But it's just like ultimately, it's like I'm pretty high on Lemon because he's gonna be a man beater. He's gonna find the gaps in zones. He's gonna like catch those tough balls. You're gonna be able to run some orbit to him. He's gonna be tough and break tackles. Like again, he's gonna be able to run those like zig routes in the end zone, like in the red zone. I think like ultimately he's going to be like that guy who just kills you on 3rd and 4, just kills you on like 2nd and 6. Like he's gonna be like a 6, 7 catch guy and finish the game with like 60 to 80 yards. But he's just gonna be like a super juiced up Jason Avant, Nelson Aguilar type guy. And even though he's missing time, I think like him missing time is more to do with him building chemistry with Hurts and him getting a feel for the speed of the game. But as a player, I don't like, I'm not, there's no fear or worry for me for like Makai Lemon at all. And then the Darius Cooper of it all, I haven't watched any training camp. So I don't even know where Darius Cooper is lining up. From a few like comments here and there, I've heard that like he beat Woolen on the play, but it's like isn't Woolen an outside corner? I have to see how Darius Cooper plays in the slot. They didn't ask Coop to really play in the slot a lot last year. Again, last year he was more of that fourth blocking wide receiver. They did some of like he was in some bunch formations for him last year, but I think Cooper. The weird thing with Cooper is like I think at the end of the day, he's an X, and it's like, well, he's behind Wicks, right? So, and Cooper's also like a UDFA, so it's gonna be weird seeing how it plays out ultimately because I do think contracts matter, but I also think it's more so of a thing like Cooper is gonna have to be exceptionally like good. Like, he's gonna have to be like really good to the point where he's a top 60 wide receiver in the league, right? To the so like he has to play, or even potentially higher than that. Like he might need to show the capabilities of being a top 50, top 45 wide receiver in the league because unfortunately that's just the politics of sports. If a guy gets hurt and he plays and he starts and he shows out in regular season, then that will change things. But again, where like it's where you're drafted in this league matters. Like again, remember when Travis Fulgham was on the team? Like Travis Fulgham had real, legit plays in the NFL, and he was out right away. Now that is due to like his own like character concerns, but like where you're drafted matters, and guys who are drafted high just get more opportunities until you like do transcendent shit consistently. So again, unfortunately, Cooper has like the cards, whatever the fucking phrase is, but I think his best chance to really get on the field and become an impact player is potentially next year or the year after next. And I think that that's how I'm looking at the Cooper situation. It's like, yeah, he's 3-year contract, UDFA. Like the Eagles are either gonna use him as a trade chip to get something, or they're gonna start him 3 years from now. Unfortunately, um, and that's the situation for Lemon and Cooper. But I do think Lemon again it's highly very like all the like Cooper people and Cooper. It's politics are politics, right? Like he may get rotated on the field a bit more. If the chemistry with Hurts is there, then Hurts may make sure to give him the ball. But again, this is a pure progression system. So even if Cooper does get on the field, it depends on where he is in that pecking order as well. It's not like Hurts is gonna say, I'm calling audibles, and I'm just gonna give Cooper the ball because he's the best wide receiver to me. Like that's not it could happen. Again, it could happen. You know, that is the thing quarterbacks do, but I just wouldn't I would be appreciative that of the fact that the Eagles have a very underrated potential starter in their fourth wide receiver spot and just be happy about that. Jalen Hurts, apparently things are getting better for Hurtsy. It's good to hear. Again, I look at this system and I go like I've watched some Packers tape. I've watched a lot of um Rams. I've watched some 49ers, all of these influences, and like the thing I always come back to is like, dude, this shit's built on the run game more than anything. It's built on the play action, the getting the defense to flow different ways, but it's like the passing concepts aren't like that. It's more so formationally in how you're running the ball and then how you're manipulating the linebackers than anything. I've seen Hurts again, even in the system that he played in 2022. I just don't think Hurts has issues with pure progression. I think Hurts has issues backside, and I think he has issues bailing too early, but I think Hurts is going to be fine in this system. Ultimately, because I think the run game is going to be better and more diversified. And I think and this is also, I forgot to mention this in the Lemon aspect. Let me just lock in real quick. Is that because of this offense, so much of like the reps or like the catches that a guy like Lemon is going to get is because of him just being there. It's the same thing like I was saying with tight end. Like because you block and you set up the run game, the play action or just other variables that come off of like you doing the same motion, like making it look the same way, like you're gonna get open for easy looks because the defense just forgets about you. And it's not like, oh, schemed up looks. We finally have schemed up. It's like, it's not. He's just open because the defense forgot about him like this time because we ran that play 3 other times, but it was a different type of play. We just made it look different, whether it was like a running play or if it was like a different passing concept that came behind it. Like Stowers, if he's on the field, like I said with Johnny Munn, Dallas Goddard, um, Lemon, like they're gonna get open a lot. Me and like so that also goes with like Hurts, where there's just gonna be so much more like easy completions in this offense. I've watched more Dontavian Wicks with the Packers last year, and I think based on a lot of stuff that's going on with like training camp, I do think he's like a solid big body X who's gonna like he's not gonna have the explosive plays that AJ had, right? Like I don't think Wicks is going to give you that those sideline like I forgot what they're called plays, but like those deep shots to keep the defense honest. I don't think Wicks has a lot of that in his game, and I do think that could hurt us, especially based on like I think Hollywood Brown is the guy who's getting like a lot of hate this training camp, and so that rotational deep threat, keeping the defense honest guy, I do think is really important due to the loss of AJ Brown and not well, and Wicks not really having that in this game. But I do think in terms of like a 10, 15 yard route runner, big body. Let me lean on the defender a little bit. Let me break to the outside, show numbers, big passing target, hands to the sidelines and over the middle, and maybe some slant type stuff. Like Wicks can do that at like a solid to decent level. Again, he is an AJ Brown, he is an Alshon Jeffrey. Like this is obvious. Thinking of some different guys that played in that role, um, and I don't even think like again mention like different guys who have played in that role over the past 5 6 years or so. Travis Fulgham. I don't think Travis Fulgham had a couple shot plays with Wentz. I think even Fulgham is a bit better than that than Wicks, but just as an overall contested catch, like Puka Nakua esque. Again, not as explosive as Puka. I don't think it's gonna do the motion fullback type stuff like Puka. More so solid X. Um, Wicks is pretty interesting, but I do think like there's an opportunity for Darius Cooper now. Thinking about it, if he can generate some explosives, right? And I haven't heard about that, but if Darius Cooper can really generate some explosives, now I'm thinking about it, he could get on the field a bit more. Um, but yeah, I'm high on Hurts in this offense because I do think the offensive coordinator change is gonna lighten the load. Again, like Kevin Mutula was bad last year. Like I don't really think it's up to debate how bad Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni were last year. Just watch football. Like really just watch football. They don't do basic shit. You don't run pistol, they don't do motion, they don't do play action. You don't go under center, right? Like regardless of any of like the Jalen Hurts, you have to run XYZ type of offense, like stuff that's been going out, like Jalen Hurts, he doesn't throw over the middle. There's basic like fundamental shit that you could do. Why aren't you throwing tight end screens? What happened to the running back screens, right? Um, like why aren't pistol formationally? What are you doing? Rollouts. Like watch the Denver Broncos offense. That was the most simplistic fucking offense, but Sean Payton sauced it up. Like he made it look cool. He knew how to understood how to manipulate the defense and create easy one-on-ones that his quarterback could quickly see and identify. He understood how to like to put Bo Nix in space. So it's like, hey, either throw this, or run and get 3 or 4 yards. They had screens. The running game matched with the passing game. It's just like there's no Jalen Hurts excuse when you can look around the other league and see other coaches doing basic shit for their quarterback, but it looks better. So I don't really, I think this again. There are issues with Jalen Hurts if you just watch other quarterbacks. Again, the arm talent. Um, I don't want to get into my Jalen. Fuck it, I'll get into my Jalen Hurts rant because what else am I gonna do? It's yap yap sports. Like the whole idea of Jalen Hurts and why to me he's comparable to those Trevor Lawrence, to the CJ Strouds, to the Jordan Love as quarterbacks, even though he like doesn't have the arm talent, is because of those guys again are going to throw interceptions. They're going to get sacked, right? Like This is why Jaden Daniels was so good his rookie year. It's about stressing and being able to manipulate the defense to protect the ball, time of possession, and to score points, right? Like that's the point. You want to control time of possession and you want to score points. So quarterbacks who can scramble and manipulate the defense to get 4 yards, to get a first down, to generate explosives with their legs are more valuable than quarterbacks who have great arms, but they don't know how to manipulate the defense with their legs. Why? Because now instead of generating those explosive plays, instead of manipulating the defense and controlling the time of possession with their legs, they have to throw the ball instead, which is a riskier play that is going to make the game longer. So now they have to make more of those plays. And it puts them in a worse position. Again, a great example of this. And again, it is team context of protecting the quarterback and how much can you run the ball and shit like that. But like again, Sam Darnold is another great example. They were able to win the Super Bowl, but again, he threw a shit ton of interceptions because they asked him to do shit, but they had a great defense and they could eventually in the playoffs run the game a lot. He didn't have turnovers and they could pull it back so it's a lower risk situation. This is what like that's what makes those quarterbacks, even though they're better throwers of the football, they need to make riskier plays to win that also make the game longer. Again, so it's not simply like who's the better thrower of the football. It's context and how you win the football and risk management, right? So again, in this offense, Jalen Hurts should still be risk adverse, but you should give him a better running game and better passing concepts for him to throw the ball and to protect the ball. Um, okay, that's that. Jalen Hurts rant. Okay, so then there's Hunt. Hunt's having a great camp. Let's see what the numbers look like at the end of the season. Yeah, there's a lot of buzz on JLX Hunt. He's playing more of the right side end or the left side in, excuse me, I'm dyslexic. Typically, the side that Sweat, Phillips played, the lead dogs have played. So he's doing more of that this offseason. Again, let's see. At the end of the day, for Hunt, he's gonna get paid due to his versatility. But let's see if now how much extra he gets paid based on his pressure rate and ability to, just be that elite edge rusher, right? Let's see where it goes with Hunt. Yeah, now I'm going back on the offense. I'm all over the place. Bell and the offensive lineman. So the offensive lineman stuff is pretty interesting. Again, shout out Lane. The one good thing Chip Kelly did him. But Chip Kelly did a couple good things. I'm joking, but I think for me, what has really stuck out with the O line is one, I don't know how good Jurgens and Dickerson are. Like that, again, that's a big deal. We don't really know. We won't know until we know, but focusing on the backup guys, a lot of the guys that the Eagles drafted, um, last year and maybe even like maybe this year, I'm not sure, but like the Cam Williams, the Miles Hitton, like they're getting passed up by some of these other like newer offensive linemen. Like this, I don't even know his name, but this Okonkwo guy, they're really liking Bell. Majors, his other interior lineman, they're really liking. Drew Kendall. They like so it's like it seems like the linemen that are gonna be the future backups, potential starters, aren't you know Cam Williams, Miles Hitton. I know there's another like guard or big guy they drafted, or maybe got as a UDFA last year who um isn't making a lot of buzz, but they need those back. Willie Lampkin is a guy people like. Let me make sure I put Lampkin out there. But so that to me is really interesting. They're playing Bell at right tackle. Is the Bell push because he's doing well, or is the Bell push because Lane farewell tour final season is happening, and they're really trying to develop him. But I don't know. I don't know. That's what tonight we'll find out. Tonight we'll see. Hopefully he is solid. I can't wait on Sunday. Really, maybe Sunday night, depending on when it drops. Really check out the all 22 on that to see how these backup linemen are doing. But again, I know we spent some time on Stowers, right? Lemon, again, you could argue that you paid a bit more for a slot receiver. If you hit on a tackle in the draft, what again? What if you hit on a starting like a upper end starting caliber tackle? Period. But if you hit on the potential like Pro Bowl doesn't really mean much, but in the context of let's just say Pro Bowl is like the halfway point between All Pro or whatever. If he becomes like a Pro Bowl level right tackle, it's automatically a good draft. It's just how it is, right? That position is so important. Um, so I'm really rooting for Bell. Running game. I already mentioned the running game. Just going through my notes here. I already mentioned the running game. I think it's so important if you watch the schemes like it was the pass and the bet, dude. It's all based on the running game. So at the end of the day, this team is going to be as good as Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, and Saquon Barkley in the running game. I do hope more pistol. Oh my God, more pistol. The issue with pistol. I mean, man, I actually do have some because I actually, again, I've been watching more Shanahan. I've been watching more Lafleur, and like I love pistol because you can do so much weird shit with it. The issue with pistol, is that in order for it to be truly like elite and deadly, one those running backs need to be able to block. They need to be able to do different types of things, and I'm curious to how that could look. I don't see Mannion, being a Kubiak esque with his run game concepts, but again, I think with a guy like Cam Latu, with a guy like Carson Steele, depending on how Eli Stowers develops, um, a guy like Willie Lampkin, if we get really weird, you could do some weird shit with pistol, man. Like you could do some weird, interesting stuff with pistol, with the running game this season, depending on where Sean Mannion wants to take it. But I also look at guys like Will Shipley and Tank and also Saquon, and I go, explosively, what these guys could do back here is interesting, but I just don't like in the fullback situation. I just don't like those guys, right? And I'm more so thinking experimentally here rather than just like what the Eagles could possibly do this season in terms of what they could possibly do this season, regards to the run game. Again, I think Bigsby, and this is another thing, like Bigsby has looked explosive during camp. There's been multiple reports on how good he has looked, but then that makes me think, well, how does Saquon look? If people are talking about the second running back, oh, is being so explosive, and oh my goodness, he's juiced up, and then the superstar running back isn't getting. Again, I don't. Maybe I'm just trying to be a little bit too negative, but again, I do think still the core of this team is the running game. They do need to rotate Tank Bigsby in more due to all this juice reportedly that he has. Will Shipley is going to be used a bit more due to his pass catching ability. But I do think when you run the pistol, those guys do need some fullback lead blocker type ability. And I do worry about that. So that is something where they be on the lookout if they can find a hybrid type guy in the future. I think that would be really cool. Safety spot. I was a Michael Carter guy coming in. Like coming in early July, I was like Michael Carter played really well for the Jets. He played safety in college, transitioned to nickel in the NFL, played under Robert Saleh, drafted by Joe Douglas. Like I think those are real serious good football guys. Got a contract extension from those dudes. So like to me, I was really high on Michael Carter, and I thought he was gonna win the safety spot. Um, I'm not. I haven't. I watch again safety tape. It's not my thing. I'm not gonna be like, I don't fucking know if the guy's playing fucking good at safety unless he makes an amazing play. So it's like being able for me to judge a um Epps versus Michael Carter, I'm not gonna be able to do really. It's only like I like the pedigree and versatility of Michael Carter, so I thought he would eventually win the starting spot. Apparently, he's doing well in camp, and Vic likes versatility. Vic's talking him up, but I think either way they're in a good spot. It seems like they aren't going. They don't really need to bring a guy in. Um, Mac McWilliams is having a good camp too. I think that's very important. I think Ringo is the Chris Marigos of this team. Hopefully, Eagle fans can like accept and appreciate that and don't have to get mad at the fact that he's making this team because again, this is the team Patrick Johnson, Chris Marigos, Brian Brayman, right? They have in the past spent money on elite special teams guys and brought them in to just be that. It's okay that we missed on the pick of Ringo. It's okay that he isn't a starting caliber quarterback. Like, don't again. This is like a Philly fan thing. Like, they just hate people when they don't do their job correctly, and then they just think they're useless. And, oh, it doesn't matter. I can get someone else to do that. He sucks, right? But it's just like elite special team player still has value. Like legit chance that you might even re-sign him next offseason if he isn't looking to go somewhere to start, if he understands, hey, I'm an elite special teamer. The team that drafted me values elite special teamers. They're gonna sign me to a contract as that. If he wants it, he could come back. I doubt it. He's probably gonna go somewhere thinking he could start at cornerback again. Whatever. But what was I at? But Mac McWilliams is playing good. Considering the Jonathan Jones injury, I do think that third cornerback spot is really important. I think from the general vibe, Eagle fans, I don't think care as much because of the Dory Jackson situation last year. But third corner is still important. Where we at? Cornerback, safety, did running back, Hunt. Yeah, I think that's it for this Yap session, man. That's everything that I really wanted to talk about going into this season or going into this first preseason game. I think the team again. Ultimately, I think the team is going to be as good as the running game this season. For this game in particularly, I'm looking at Stowers. I'm looking at the offensive linemen. Um, maybe I'm looking at some of those again. The chance linebacker people are talking about. Ty Robinson, people are saying is on the bubble. Um, some of those safeties, the Maximus guy, I know people have some buzz about. So if anyone pop, okay, so there's like a handful of guys that I don't um, care about. Not that I don't care about, I'm not like invested in that storyline. But again, if they pop on film, and if I see some things just watching the TV copy tonight, it makes me interested in the player. Then I'll definitely mention them. Ty Robinson is a guy, I like the Ty Robinson. I didn't study his tape, but I like the Ty Robinson um archetype. Athletic, white guy, defensive tackle. I think he played at Wisconsin or I think he played at Wisconsin or like a Big Ten. I don't know. It's Wisconsin Big Ten. I don't fucking know. But like, I think he played at one of those like gritty schools. So like, I thought like, Eagles just found like their JJ in air quotes JJ Watt in the third round. You know, but doesn't seem like he's flashing. So yeah, definitely gonna be looking at him. Um, maybe Jacorian Bennett again. I'm just gonna be checking guys out. Also, so be on the lookout. I'm also gonna do just a preseason review this week. So let's talk about content for this Yap Shap Sports. I gotta be more consistent. I don't put any time or thought into these actual videos. Right? I'm just gonna just smoke pot, watch film, then turn on my mic and yap. Alright, but I'm gonna try to be more direct in the shit, as I say. is gonna come out. So I'm gonna try to do a preseason review type shit type thing. Um, I watched the Cardinals game. I thought Carson Beck played pretty fucking good in how he was on the ball and distributing around. So yeah, that's definitely gonna be a series. Look for those Tuesday. I'll try to do those by Tuesday. Then I'm gonna do more Eagles content. It's not gonna be training camp or clickbait or Twitter talking point. Jalen Hurts threw a fucking interception and fucking training camp content. I hate all of that shit. It's not gonna be like boring casual content. It's going to be weird shit. So like comparing Jahad Campbell to Carson Schlesinger is one I really want to do. Maybe reviewing the rookie safeties from last year. I'm gonna do maybe a slot receiver video. Really want to watch Jalen Noel. Haven't got a chance. Again, it's just gonna be videos based on guys who I want to give myself an excuse to watch, and then I'm gonna find a way to compare it to an Eagles context, right? Because I'm, Eagles content gets boring after a while because people don't watch tape and then they argue about the same fucking shit over and over and over again. And it's just like if you just watched football and tried to talk about football, you would see that it's just fucking stupid and there's no point to keep talking about it. And we might as well just like watch something else. And if anything cool happens with Eagles, or if anything cool happens in this preseason game, I'll do a breakdown. I don't see myself doing a extensive breakdown of this preseason game unless something fucking cool happens or unless someone plays awesome. But again, that's the content schedule. So preseason review for the whole NFL Tuesday. Then later that week, Thursday, you can look for a Jahad Campbell, Carson Schlesinger video, and then a random Yap Eagles preseason review. Probably tomorrow. I'll do that quick. Probably Sunday night, Monday morning. Yap Sports. Talking about bullshit. All right, so have a good one, y'all. Hopefully this was a experience.